Hello, Super Gang. It's Susan here. I've been thinking this week about how wet the weather has been. Have you got wet walking to school or walking home? I got so wet walking home from church on Sunday that I had to change my clothes when I got home. But all of the rain has made me think about rainbows. We've been looking at rainbows loads over the last year or so, haven't we? We've been using them as ways to say thank you to people. But it's interesting that the rainbows first appear in the Bible, and they're there as a reminder of promises that God makes us. You'll remember the story of Noah and his ark, and where he puts all the animals inside. And at the end of it, God makes the first ever rainbow. And he says a promise that he won't ever flood the whole earth again. And he says that the rainbow will remind us of God's promises. And so I was thinking about some of the promises that I know from the Bible. And one of the promises is about God being with us and keeping us safe. And there's a story I thought we could read about it. And it's about a storm as well. It's called The Captain of the Storm. Here's a picture of a boat. The sun was going down. The air was warm and still. "Let's go across the lake," said Jesus to his friends. Jesus had been helping people all day, and now he was tired. So they left the crowds at the shore and set out in a small fishing boat. Jesus climbed into the boat and began to take a nap. As soon as his head touched the pillow, he was fast asleep. It was a beautiful evening. A gentle breeze rustled the sails. The friends were chatting happily as they headed out into the middle of the lake. Everything was perfect, just right for a nice, quiet sail. So if we look at this picture, maybe you can spot which one is Jesus. They were only about halfway across when out of nowhere, whirling winds swept across the lake, fierce and strong like a hurricane. A blinding flash of lightning lit up the sky. Thunder roared right overhead. The storm blew the water into towering waves that hurled the little boat up and down, and then it hurtled crashing over the waves. You see, there's a tiny little man clinging onto the mast. The fishing boat was blown and buffeted, tossed and turned, back and forth, up and down, left and right, round and round. But in the middle of the storm, Jesus was still sleeping. Now, Jesus' friends had been fishermen all their lives. But in all their years fishing on this lake, they had never seen a storm like this one. No matter how hard they struggled with their ropes and sails, they couldn't control their boat. This storm was too big for them. But the storm wasn't too big for Jesus. "Help!" they screamed. "Wake up! Quick! Jesus!" Jesus opened his eyes. "Rescue us! Save us!" they shrieked. "Don't you care?" Of course, Jesus cared. And this was the very reason he had come, to rescue them and to save them. Jesus stood up and spoke to the storm. "Hush," he said. That's all. And the strangest thing happened. The wind and the waves recognized Jesus' voice. They had heard it before, of course. It was the very same voice that had created them in the very beginning. They listened to Jesus and they did what he said. Immediately, the wind stopped. The water calmed down. It glittered innocently in the moonlight and lapped quietly against the side of the boat as if nothing had happened at all. The little boat bobbed gently up and down, and there was a deep stillness and a great quiet all around. Then Jesus turned to his windswept friends. "Why were you scared?" he asked. "Did you forget who I am? Did you believe your fears instead of believing me?" Jesus' friends were quiet as the wind and the waves. "What kind of man is this?" they asked themselves. "Even the wind and the waves obey him." Jesus' friends had been so afraid they only saw the big waves. They had forgotten that if Jesus was with them, they had nothing to be afraid of, no matter how small their boat was or how big the storm. I find that a really encouraging story, not just because Jesus can calm the storm, but also because his friends did get worried and afraid. But when they came to Jesus, he was able to calm not just the worry of the waves, but also the worry inside their heart and their fears. I've had an idea of something that we could make to help us remember this. I've got a sheet that I will send to you, and I've coloured it in to make it look like a rainbow. And it says, God keeps his promises. And I thought I could put some of the promises that I know that God has said. So I'm going to put a promise that said, God always loves me, because that's a very good promise. So I will stick that onto the bottom of my rainbow. And another promise, God has said he will never leave us. So I can stick that one on as well. And I thought I might think about some promises that I need from God, some things that I'm worried about, but I know that God is bigger. So I could put, God will be with me when I have bad dreams. I'm going to add that one to my rainbow. And God will keep me safe when there are lots of people. We haven't been in crowds very much, but everything's starting to get busy again. And I'm glad, but it also can feel a little bit worrying. Another one for me is I've got to move house soon, and I'm excited, but I'm also a bit worried. So I've written, God will be with me when I move house. He is my safe place. And the last one is that God will help me when I have to be wise or brave. People can sometimes ask you lots of questions and you don't always know the answer, but I know that God has all of the answers and I can ask him to help me. So here is my rainbow of promises from God. And you could make your own rainbow. Think about the things that maybe put a bit of a storm inside your heart. And maybe you can write down what the truth is. You could hang this up somewhere to help you remember that God always keeps his promises. That's what rainbows show us. You might also like to make yourself a storm jar. I found a pot, and in it I've put some pink water, so water with food colouring, and on top I've put a bit of oil, and I can make a storm in it and then watch it calm down. Are you ready for the storm? Can you see? It's got very, very stormy, but if I put it still, I can watch the storm calm down. Sometimes I do this when I'm feeling worried, and just concentrating on all the bubbles settling reminds me that Jesus can calm the storm, and it gives me a bit of space to calm down and think myself. You might like to try making one of these. You could have it in your bedroom and use it if you get a bit stormy inside your heart. and you need some time to calm down. I hope those things have been helpful and that you enjoy doing them. Have a great week, Super Gang, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.